Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the boardroom. That's right. We got an official title now. This is called the boardroom, right? So I have the war room on Saturdays, and now I've got the boardroom where we get to talk all kinds of board gaming with our good friend of the channel, Dale, the casual gamer. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Well, I loved our last conversation, and I told you afterwards we'll have to do it again.
Yep.
And I kept pestering you until you agreed to come on again. So I'm going to just keep doing that because it seems to work. So
Yeah, you got me snowed in at my home, and I've got nowhere to go.
you got nowhere to go. You're going to have to show up anyways. Hey, Private Public, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. So we're going to be talking all kinds of board gaming stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about this, a little bit about that, a little bit of everything. So it's going to be a good time. Dale's a great guy. If you're from my channel and this is the first time you've seen Dale, the casual gamer, why don't you tell us a little bit about your channel, what you like, what you don't like, what you cover on your channel, and why people should go and subscribe other than I'm telling them they should do that.
Well, that's the main reason right there. You got to listen to Mr. Jester, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
No, basically, I just games that catch my interest, I'll highlight them on the channel, do unboxings and playthroughs, and really don't give reviews. Just let people see me play the game and see if that's something they like or not. I'm very much into visual games, so I like a good theme and usually an IP. So a lot of comic book things, Marvel, DC Comics, Aliens. I mean, the typical D&D type stuff. So roll dice, some card management, things like that.
Yeah, that's for sure. And definitely do a great job. I love your videos. Your lighting is perfect. For you YouTubers out there, you know how hard it is to get things to look right. And when you see somebody that does it right, it's like, wow, this guy puts a lot of effort and time and money into his equipment and everything. It just doesn't happen like that to normal people. So
it takes a while. Let's see, I got to make a charisma save. I don't know if I should have a D20 around here somewhere.
I'm sure you do. Well, we got very similar tastes. We like a lot of the same things. We're probably around the same age. We like Marvels. We like, superhero stuff. We like Aliens. We grew up doing that, right? So that was kind of our generation. So we all love that stuff. And so, when I started watching your channel, I'm like, this guy, I need to get him on my channel because we need to talk and just meet and have fun together. So, speaking of Private Public brings it up. So Marvel Zombies is a must for you, Dave. What do you think? We were actually talking about that before the show.
Yeah, I'm just curious how much money it's going to take them on. The thing about CMON is they show you a core box and say, get this for $100. And then every day they release another expansion or something. They can just hit me with the all-in pledge on that.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, OG, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Yeah,
guys, if you're unfamiliar, go subscribe to Dale, the Casual Gamer, and go subscribe to his channel. Check out his videos. Yeah, I think Marvel Zombies, two things we love, right? So, I mean, you put those two things together, like you said, the only problem is having to write that check every month is going to be a problem.
Yep. And they're doing a lot of neat things with this one. I mean, it sounds like you can play as the Marvel heroes, take on zombies, or you can play as the zombies and take on the other non-zombies coming to take you down. So they're doing some neat things with it from what I've seen so far. And I think it goes live in a day or two. So I mean, it's going to be an insta buy. I don't even need to read anything else about it. Just go in back and see what it costs.
Right. So yeah, we'll talk. Might as well, since we're kind of talking about it. So we're doing a big Kickstarters. I've kind of gotten off the Kickstarter path. I ordered 4 games in 2019. I just received one, which was The Great Wall, and finally got that one in. I'm still waiting on 3 more games that was kickstarted in 2019. So I kind of, after just waiting all these years, I'm like, just doesn't make sense for me to just put the money out. Now I know you're a big Kickstarter guy. You got quite a few of them.
I'm probably waiting on 30 to 40 games to come in. So
right. Now, I will say, I just backed, and you can see it right here. Right there it is.
yeah,
I backed the definitive edition of Sentinels of the Multiverse, and that was just a couple months ago, and it's already here. So I'm kind of getting back into temptation, right? Tempting. So,
yep, and you forced me to get that too. I'm
I
still
know.
waiting for a copy
And
though.
I think it's going to be right up your alley.
It has not arrived yet.
Yours hasn't arrived yet. Oh,
No,
too
I
bad.
haven't gotten a shipping notice or anything.
Wow.
So that's the wonderful world of kickstarting.
Ooh, really? Hell, Jason just signed up for your channel, Dale. So thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. So if I was to get back on the old Kickstarter, what do you know that's coming up? Share some knowledge with us. What's coming up? What should we be ready to buy?
All I know is Final Girl is back up again. That was a big solo game that I missed out on the first Kickstarter.
What's
and
it
now
called?
Final Girl.
Final Girl.
That's what it is.
Huh.
Yeah, Final Girl Series 2.
Okay.
So it's a solo game. I think it was based on a negotiator game, but it's got a horror theme. So you buy the core set, which gives you the mechanics, and then they have a whole bunch of different horror themed things. So I mean, they can't call them Freddy and Jason, but they're Freddy and Jason.
Right. Right. They didn't want to pay for the licensing, right? So they
that was a big hit.
Down.
So for their second series, and you can go back and get the first. I just don't know if I want to, how much money I want to spend on that, knowing in 2 days I'm emptying my wallet on something else.
And Tabletop Sports Delaware is starting to put some good games out. Tabletop Sports Delaware and myself go back many years now. We've been friends, YouTube friends for a long time. We were doing sports back in the day. But, I've been branching out and doing stuff. And now he's actually just put out a pandemic video the other day. And
Okay.
I try to remember the other one that he did. It was called, it's a card game where you have like 10, and you can put them in limbo. What are those? I'm sure he'll tell me what it was.
Not Wingspan, he's saying.
Orami, Ornim, or Namrim, or Onirim, or Namrim. Have you ever played that?
Yeah, I picked it up. I know what Z Garcia from the Dice Tower. He loves that little game. It's a little abstract card game.
Yeah, and he played Wingspan as well. So, yeah. So, just because, we're getting more people in the hobby, so we should do more shows, Dale. I'm telling you, there's people out there that need to know about your channel. They need to know about all the other channels. So I love it. I love talking with you, and we have such a good time. I love both channels, and Dale and I have been subscribed. Good. Dennis.
Cool, Dennis.
Let's before we get too much involved in what's going on forward or anything, let's look back. 2021. You played, like we talked about before we started the show. You played a lot of games. You released a top 10 video out of the games you played. You played 36 games.
30 couple 2021 releases, which it always shocks me how many games I play a year. Like I said, I got other people in my group that buy as many games as I do, so it's nice I don't have to get everything. Right.
So you have a nice core group of guys in yourself that get together just about every week, and you hang out, you play games together, and do you just go to one another's house and just everyone rotates, or do you have a place you guys all meet? Or
we meet at a local game store in Stanton, Virginia. They stay open super late, and we've been gaming for about 2 decades together, and I think this is the third store we've been to.
Wow.
Yep. So it works out pretty well. It's dangerous for the wallet, though. When you're there all day long, you're bound to pick up more games.
Right. That's what they want you there for, right? You
Yep.
could walk by, throw little games on the wall, and you go, ooh, look at that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, quite a few games you played. What do you think 2021? How would you rate it? I mean, you've been doing this a while, right? You've been doing this for 10 years, 20 years. How would you rate 2021 with the releases? Anything that, like, I know Unfathomable is like way up there because of the mechanics and stuff. How would you rate 20 and 21? Is it going to be one of those years you look back and go, there wasn't that much that came out. It was 2021. Or you're going to be like, 2021 was a great year. What do you think?
I think there were some great games. It was hard for me to do a top 10 list because last year I cheated. I didn't make a top 10 list. I just went over the games I'd played because I thought 5 were good and I just couldn't put another 5 on the list. This year was still kind of tough. The 2 deck builders I put on there, I kind of liked them, but I don't think other people they'd be iffy. The Transformers and G.I. Joe. I just feel like if you're not into that theme, you're not going to like this. And then there were some mechanics in it that weren't great. But I also realized last year there was a lot of reprints coming out. I'm trying to look at my list now. So like the top game on my list was Unfathomable. That was just a retheming of Battlestar Galactica,
right.
Which I was shocked they got can't think the guy's name back that had left FFG to help redesign it. But I thought they did a great job re-streamlining the game and putting that Arkham Horror theme on it, since, I mean, the Battlestar Galactica IP they don't have anymore. Let me see. Valeria Card Kingdoms. I missed that the first time it went out, but that might turn out to be one of my, it's probably my top 5 solo games. I mean, and I didn't expect nothing. I usually don't like engine builders, but the card art brought me in, and just the way the game worked. I mean, I can teach it to someone in just a couple minutes, and after you play 2 rounds, you're like, oh, I get this.
Right. And that's
yeah.
I mean, got to have those games. I mean, because you get these new people or whatever, and you don't want to throw something at them too much right off the bat. You got to have those introductory games.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's like Marvel Champions. I teach that to some people and they just can't get it, or some other people who's kind of, that maybe have played Magic the Gathering before. After a couple rounds ago, oh, I see what's going on here. But yeah, I mean, Valeria Card Kingdoms is pretty easy to teach and simple to get on. And then I know Warhammer Quest's Cursed City was kind of controversial since, I mean, it sold out before most people even got their stuff. I'd never played that system before, but I picked up a copy and then found out about all the controversy and just put it on the top of one of my shelves and let it sit there, because I don't want to highlight something on the channel that no one can get unless you're going to pay an arm and leg for it. And then when I found out they were reprinting it, I brought it down off the shelf and played it, and I love the way that thing works. It starts out fairly easy because you start at level 0 and you've got to work your way up to level 5. So I mean, it starts out easy, which I think is good, so you can learn the mechanics. But after you start leveling up, you realize, oh, there's more monsters coming out. I'm not going to live through this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it was a pretty decent year. I'm trying to think. Well, Set a Watch was on my list, so that was just.
I saw that. I as we just talked about, I've seen your video before, but I want to refresh my memory, so we have some things to talk about. Set a Watch never really did anything for me, but after I watched your video, I was like, this is actually looks pretty neat. And and then so when I saw your top 10 end of the year video, I'm glad it was there, because I was like, I think a lot of people would like this game if they knew about it. I didn't know anything about it until I saw your video. Yeah,
Rock Manor Games is really, they've gotten in my head. I love their stuff. So I think one of my favorite games by them is, The Few and the Cursed. It's based on a comic book. I mean, it's deck building with adventure in a post-apocalyptic world. And I love the game. The deck building's a little bit different as most, but that turned out to be a great game. But yeah, after that, Tyrants of the Underdark was a reprint. And of course, Marvel United just came out with X-Men instead of Avengers. So like I said, it didn't seem like new stuff. It was just a lot of reprints for the
Right,
type.
right. Some re-edition or distribution of a game, and maybe some updates and stuff like that. I was really looking at Tyrants of the Underdark after I saw you had mentioned it. Mike from the One Stop Co-op Shop did like a solo variant of it and highlighted that in a video, and I said, "Oh, that looks pretty neat."
Yep.
But it's hard to judge a game on somebody's variant. But you put it on your list, so tell me about that. Would you get first of all, would you get the game without that solo variant? And second question, with the solo variant, does it make the game better?
I'll go back a couple of years back when Pandemic was kind of the only solo game out there. Whenever I'd got a new game, I'd always play it two-handed before I took it to game night just to learn how to play. So with all the solo variants, I love it just because it's a better way for me to learn the mechanics, but yet it's still solo. So when Tyrants first came out, the first edition, I bought it and then sold it, and of course immediately regretted it as soon as I sold it.
Right.
But it just wasn't getting played at the table. A lot of times my group, I don't like area control games with 3 people because it's too easy for 2 people to fight and one person to turtle.
One guy gets ahead, the other 2 go get him. Yeah.
Or something like that. And it just didn't work with my main group. But with the solo variant, I mean, I bought it again before I knew about the solo thing. I'm just like, I'm getting it this time and keeping it. I just liked the game so much. But yeah, the solo variants, it's a cool way to play. I don't know if I'd buy it just solo only, but it's a game that I wanted back in my collection to keep, and I'm glad it had the solo variant.
Right. That was probably a better way than my question.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you're going to buy the game just for the solo, you would say, maybe not. If you have solo and you can also play it with people, then you would say thumbs up.
Unless you're a huge D&D fan and you like the Dark Elves.
Right.
Then yeah.
I noticed you said Dark Elves. You didn't say drow or drow or however you say it, because good Lord, we could spend an hour just talking about which way to pronounce that.
Yes, and I mispronounce everything anyway. I tried I think in one of my videos, I just started saying the Asgardian weapon for one of the Marvel Champions things. And I actually said Yarnborn one time, and someone was like, what happened to the Asgardian weapon? So, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful because there is some people out there that will try to put you in your place for saying the wrong word at the wrong time. And if you call it something else, I'm terrible with names. I'll butcher half the names anyways. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, here we go. We got it started. It's drow like cow. Oh my god. But yeah, that looks like a really cool game. I was gonna get it, but then I thought, with the solo variant, it's good to talk with you because I'm not gonna play it with people. So if it's not gonna be something that I'm gonna enjoy by myself, maybe I won't pick it up. So I'm glad good to hear that. So, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with the game. It's not probably going to end up being for me because I'm not going to be able to play it with a lot of people. So,
oh yeah. And you got to spend your money wisely. I call games almost as quick as they come in. So,
speaking of which, do you have my address when you call a game?
Yeah, but I hate shipping.
I'll pay for shipping. So don't worry about that.
Yep. You'll have to drive up and get it one time.
I just might do that. We might take a long trip up to Virginia one weekend. The wife's always wanted to go someplace somewhere. I'm going to tell her Virginia sounds like a really good place this time of year. So
Yep.
That'd be great to hang out with you guys sometime and just do a nice little gaming board gaming weekend. So
yeah, you can get me into wargaming, but I don't know.
I know. Like I said, some people talked yesterday at the War Room when I mentioned you and getting together tonight and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to talk them into doing," because they had heard you about your channel, they've watched your videos. You're not a big war gamer now. There's you know, I would say, this is what I will say is there's board gaming, there's wargaming, and they're kind of games that are now kind of intertwining between them.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you say that one, the Great Wall, right? The Great Wall. What would you call that?
I haven't played it. I looked at it and it was just too much for me.
It was expensive as hell. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But the components are really cool. It's a worker placement, but you got the hordes coming in, and you have to build your walls up. So you have to put your guys out there to get your walls built and get your recruits out there. You get
Mm-hmm.
your units out there on the wall and stuff, because guys will come in and they'll damage the wall, and if you don't have the walls up to a certain level, then your guys take damage. So would you call that a war game, or would you call that a board game? I mean, see, what I'm saying is there's a lot of if you're not into guns and tanks, and when people think of war games, let's be honest, when people think of war games, they think of those table where they have thousands of counters that are like 3 inches thick on them and stuff. That's really not what wargaming is anymore. It really isn't. There is a lot of solo games, a lot of solo-friendly games, and there is a lot of games that are, like I said, kind of meshing between the genres, between regular board gaming and wargaming. And we talked before the show a little bit, and I think I could send you a list of 4 or 5 games that you could look at, and probably you would enjoy, I think. We talked about Warfighter, which I know you looked at. There's a game. Well, have you ever heard of the Command and Colors system?
Yeah. So, I mean, I used to have Memoir 44 and enjoyed that one.
There you go. Yeah. So it's kind of the Memoir 44 is the Command and Color system, but they got the World War II, they got the Ancients, they got Napoleon, they have World War I, they got like 8, they got even what's it called? Space Red Alert. Have you ever heard of Red Alert?
Okay. Yeah.
Alert is basically the Command and Colors in space. Is basically with this super cool spaceships and everything like that. So
yeah, and I think Fantasy Flight made one with a medieval theme.
Right. Battlelore. Right. Battlelore.
That's right. Yep.
Is basically Command and Colors with fantasy creatures and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if I think that system, would work. It's got the cards where you're gonna, play special powers and do all that, which is kind of fun. So I think, wargaming is obviously there are war games, traditional. Here's a tank. Here's an infantry squad. Here's a this. But there's also games that are kind of branching the gap between them. I've got a game that's on Kickstarter called Race to Moscow. Have you heard of that one? That was the one I ordered in 2019. It's basically a war game, area movement, but there's a lot of, you got to have resources to move your units around and supplies, and you're trying to get all your vehicles into different locations. So there's a lot of, I guess, what I would call regular board game mechanics.
Yeah, I'm checking it out.
You're checking it out. You're checking out everything I say.
You never know when I'm going to get by or get bored. Sometimes I'm up at 2:00 in the morning just looking through board games and clicking by, and then I wake up the next week and go, "Wait, did I really just spend that much money?"
I get these emails from like Miniature Market and stuff, and I'm like, I got to delete this because I'll be clicking the link, and before you know it, I'll have like $150 in the cart. So.
Yeah, they're getting sneaky now. The past couple of weeks, I'll go look at something, and then the next day I'll get an email. Hey, we noticed you were looking at this. Did you want to come back and buy it? Right.
Don't ever put anything in your cart and then close it, because you'll get an email like the next day. Hey, you forgot something. And I'm like, because I had placed an order, and then I was going to put some cart things in for the cart, so I remembered for the next time I ordered. I got an email, and they said I forgot something. And I was thinking, I forget to check out or whatever. So I went back, and of course it was because I had put that thing in the cart as a reminder to order it. So, but you do I was. What do you percentage would you say do you do buying from a store or locally as opposed to Kickstarter? Is it 50-50? Is it 30-40 or 30-70? Or do you do most of it by Kickstarter? Or
I mean, I do the Kickstarter stuff for the exclusive stuff. So if it's a non-Kickstarter game, I try to get from a local shop. But I mean, it's a small shop, so they're not always getting stuff in. But
right.
I'd say I'm close to 50-50.
Okay.
I mean, I'll check at the store first and go, hey, is this something you can get next week or soon? And as a small store, I don't think they've been having the best of luck with Asmodee, which of course carries the majority of the games that you need to get.
Right, right.
So they've been having trouble getting stuff in. So like Marvel Champions, I mean, I asked them a while ago, I was like, that's one of my big things on my channel. I need to get that within the first week of its release. And I mean, they were honest with me.
You got to be first with it, right?
Yeah, there's no way I'm first. Vision came out Friday, and I still don't have my copy. So
right. I've got my definitive edition. I can't believe how many people come on and check that out because I pre-ordered it on the Kickstarter. I must have been like one of the first ones that did it because I got my box. I've gotten 3 or 4 emails from people saying, I saw your video and I still haven't got mine yet.
Yeah, one of those was for me, right?
I guess. You and Herman and a couple other people that I know have been like, I wish I'd get my copy one of these days. So,
yep. I'm going to be out of town next week. I'm sure to show up then.
Exactly. At the wrong time, right? Exactly the wrong time.
Now I'll come back home and the wife will go, how many games did you get? And I'm like, I ordered that 2 years ago.
Right. I can't help it. It's finally arrived. What am I supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, have you ever heard of D-Day Dice?
Yeah, I have that one. I think I've got the pocket version.
Oh, you got the pocket one. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you start adding in all the expansions and stuff, it really, from my wargaming crowd, they kind of, D-Day Dice. But, I mean, there's a lot to it when you start adding in all the expansions. There's one expansion that you start with your ship in the ocean, and you got to weave through it to get to the beach. And depending on how well you do weaving through, there's mines and stuff out there, and then there's artillery that comes in different locations. So depending on how well you end up getting your thing there, that's how many resources you start with. In the normal game, you just start with 12 guys and whatever on the beach. Well, based on how well or how poorly you do getting to the beach. And then, of course, there's variations on different countries. So now instead of just using like one, when you roll 3 guys, you get this. Now they got British, France, Germany, all the different countries that you can be. And then they got the different units, like the big red one. So, I mean, all those different rewards are different based on the different units you use. So it's actually, I keep telling people I loved it. It was my number one. I put it in my war game last year. It was my number one war game that I played on my channel last year because it was just a lot of fun to play that. And that's what, it doesn't matter to me if it's a war game or a board game or whatever. If it's the most fun, it's the most fun.
Yep. So, now, how was 2021 for you?
I kind of said this time for me, 2021 was kind of a down year, I think. For me, a lot of the things I got, I wasn't very happy with, and that was probably more my fault, right? It wasn't maybe the game or whatever. Maybe I didn't do enough research. Some games that I were waiting on normally came in, and they were just I thought I was, I've been waiting on a game called D-Day at Omaha Beach. I'm a big D-Day guy. Normandy, Western Europe, World War II. That's like my sweet spot, right? So I was waiting on this game to get in. It's only a solo game, but it's got a mechanic where each square has got like red and green triangles, and then you draw for the enemy, and it tells you like activate all green triangles. and we'll
Mm-hmm.
shoot at units and all that. I thought, oh, this is going to be, I watched videos, I wait for it, I played it, and like literally I couldn't get by like one turn. I did one turn, and I'm like, it's an hour, and I went one turn, and on a turn you can only move a guy one hex, and I'm like, oh my god, the board is 40 hexes or whatever. I'm like, yeah, forget this. It's way too much work. It's just way
Mm-hmm.
too much work. So, because for me, it was just kind of it was just kind of a down year, I think. I didn't get anything really too like super cool. The Kickstarter's like, well, I finally got the one Kickstarter in. I'm really happy with that, but that took forever to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And I did pick up a game that was kind of older, and it's, Mystic Vale.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
It's 2017 or whatever, and I always thought, it's just a gimmick. My number one game, right? My number one game, if I can only take one game and, including all expansions, and I had to land on a desert island and I could only have one game, it would be Dominion, because that's my favorite game of all time if I could have all the expansions and everything. Where was it going with this story? I don't know.
Mystic Vale number 2, I guess.
Oh, Mystic Vale, that's right. So I always was like, oh, it's trying to be Dominion with a gimmick. So I always put it aside. It's kind of junky. I don't want to have to mess with it, blah, blah, blah. Decided it was on sale on one of the sites I went to go. I threw it in my cart, and I was like, all right, I'll try it out. Man, bing! I love Mystic Vale. If you don't own Mystic Vale, I think you should own it. It is an awesome, awesome game.
I had the core expansion, and I feel like, well, the core box in the first expansion, and I think then it was only like 2 to 4 or 2 to 5 players. But you've got an official one-player game. It looked like.
Yes, there is.
It must have been a later expansion.
The number one complaint I heard was Mystic Vale only had, because each card in Mystic Vale has got a top, a middle, and a bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they have there's only I think 13 different cards in the base game, right? But they tell you there's 280. Well, there's 3 copies of the top, 3 copies of the bottom, and 3 copies of the middle. So really, you're getting 9 cards of one thing, right? You're not getting 280 different cards, or
Yeah.
What I'm calling a card. But so that was the number one complaint, was they need more expansions. And I agree with that. I totally agree with it. You need more expansions. But now they have 4 or 5 expansions, and they have the Nemesis expansion. The Nemesis expansion adds the solo variant where you now play against a bot. So
okay.
And yeah, I think it works pretty good if you have the mindset of it's kind of, you gotta kind of have the same mindset if you play Dominion solo as myself, right? So I play Dominion, and I do the cards myself for one guy, build my engine, and then the other guy I kind of just do generic big money, which is basically just getting the bigger. When I can afford the silver, I buy the silver. When I can afford the gold, I buy the gold. And then when I can buy the provinces, I buy the provinces at the end. So that's the big money strategies. You don't buy any of the fancy dancy things, right? So, I play one side, I do that, and I play the other side. So, you got to kind of go in that mindset thinking when you play the Mystic Vale solo, it's kind of that same way. You're doing your thing, and then you're just deciding what the other guy's doing during his turn. So if that's not interesting to you, you probably won't enjoy the solo variant. But I think I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I enjoyed the core game. Me and Troy, another guy at the shop, I mean, that was our favorite game for quite a while. But
Right.
like I said, so many games come in and get replaced, so the games got to go out. I only have limited number of shelves, and with all the kids going away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if
Well,
you,
we need to talk about your when you decide to get rid of something. So,
yeah, hear a lot of weird noise. The snow and ice is coming down pretty hard here.
I was going to say, it sounds like there's like a wraith trying to scratch his way in through your window or something.
Yeah, so hopefully it's not too annoying to people listening. But yeah, the weather here in Virginia is not. Stay at home.
Well, I mean, to be honest, that's like the perfect excuse to get more gaming in, right?
Yep.
Right. The wife's like, "Oh, we got to dinner. Can't. It's going to be snowing out there, so we're going to have to stay in tonight, honey."
Yeah, she's used to that excuse now.
I'm sure she is.
Yeah,
I'm sure she is. Yeah, for me, 2021, it was kind of a down year. I think everything's kind of trying to catch up from 2020 as well. The 2020 was basically a wasted year. I don't even remember 2020.
Mm-hmm.
In 2021, just a lot of seemed like everything was a problem. Trying to catch up, different variants coming in. You can do this, you can't do this, and then 2 weeks later you can't do this other thing, but then you can do this, and it's like trying to keep track of all that nonsense. It was crazy. But I'm glad you did your end of the year review, because then I got to compare, and go watch your videos and check out the games again and see if there was something I missed. Is there something from 2021 that you now go, oh, you know what, I did miss that, I want to pick it up, or I wish I would have had that when I had the chance?
Yesterday, I actually bought The Lost Ruins of Arnak, and that's been out a while. I mean, it didn't interest me, but people were still talking about it, so I picked it up yesterday. I did finally get the next version of The Crew. So, I mean, I grew up playing spades and hearts type games. So when the first edition of The Crew came out, I was a little late getting that too. But I think I told you earlier, of my 500 and some games I played last year, probably 100 of them was The Crew. So I just love trick-taking games, and the way that thing makes it a cooperative game was just great.
It is a cooperative. Can you play it solo?
Nope. It's probably best with 3 to 5. There is a 2-player variant to where the third player kind of has a way to play.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I didn't. Yeah, it didn't make it on my channel, just because I got it late and I figured, well, the hype's already there and people already know what it is, and it's not a solo game. But I mean, I do cover multiplayer games because, I mean, I definitely Unfathomable.
Right.
Well, Battlestar Galactica, I mean, it's one of my favorite games of all time. So when its replacement comes out, I have to show you solo stuff and other things.
I was just gonna say, you cover multiplayer. You play a lot of games, solo or slash. Solo but multi-handed. What do you call that? So if you were to rate just a game based upon the best solo, not cooperativeness, that doesn't have any bearing on this, what would be your like top 3 just solo? You can only play it solo, or it's best played solo type game from last year.
Best played solo. You gotta look around my shelves. We've got lights in my face. I can't think. I know what game I want to say. Just can't think the name of it. It's a dice building game. Oh, can't believe I can't think the name of it though. Warp's Edge. That's a solo only game. Warp's Edge.
Warp's Edge. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a space themed game, but instead of bag building and deck building are very similar, but so it's a bag building game. You put tokens in a bag and you're pulling things out to make your ship fight better. So I was really shocked with that one. So I mean, solo only. would be that one. I mean, most of the other games, I enjoy playing 2-player with people more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, Marvel Champions, I prefer with a group of people, but that's usually the game I grab when I'm playing a solo game.
Okay. Right. I was going to say you probably played that maybe second most last year. It seemed like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of videos you did and all the new heroes. I mean, you highlight every time a new box comes out, or new hero or box or expansion or whatever you want to call them. And then, of course, you got to have a playthrough with them. Who's your best tag team combo right now? Which is your go-to tag team?
Well, Troy, the guy I play with, his favorite to play is Star-Lord.
Okay.
And he ups the risk. He makes things harder for the team. So usually if he's playing Star-Lord, I pick up Venom. Because basically what Star-Lord does is brings in a lot extra encounter cards. So Venom's good at doing whatever needs to happen.
Okay.
So those two.
You think that's a really good combo? Who's I played the last time I think I played, and I don't play it a lot. I enjoy the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great game, great system. It's one of my probably favorite fantasy flight games. The only issue, the reason I don't play it more is they have that deck building mechanic in it. You don't have to. I understand you don't have to deck build. Just use the core set. It recommends use these cards. But, there's always that, what if I wanted to play leadership instead? Or I want to, add in these, I want more healing. So I want to add in some healing cards, So there is the deck building set. So my favorite hero that I played last time was Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Who's a good compliment to Hawkeye? Because I think I played Hawkeye and somebody else, and we lost like 3 times in a row. And I'm like, it's not Hawkeye that's the problem. It's the other person. So who would work well with Hawkeye?
Hawkeye is fragile, so that's his downside. So you need someone that. To me, I think you need someone that's good at justice so Hawkeye can flip over and heal and then return back to, because he deals a lot of damage. But like I said, he doesn't have that much.
I mean, he's got those. Once you get his quiver out, then you get his special arrows out. He shoots his special arrow, you deactivate his quiver, and then you can shoot the special arrow again. It's like 6 damage. It's like, maybe, because he's got a card that gives him like +1 damage or something too. So if you get all that combo going, he's just like killing guys left and right. So
yep. Quicksilver maybe with running him protection, because Quicksilver can do a lot of things, and if he can do some healing and have more allies or throw Tough out there, that would help.
Okay. I'll have to think about that. I got all the new stuff up to, I think that I stopped at, I got all the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff when they came out. And then there was a break before Nebula came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get, so ever since Nebula and more recent, I don't have any of that new stuff. So what am I missing out on so far? What else has come out since then? Huh?
Hood was
I don't have the Hood, no.
Yeah, the villain came in. And he did some interesting things. He's tough as all can be, but he also, so before you had standard and expert as an option. The Hood comes replaces those standard and expert cards. So now there's standard 2 and expert 2. So standard 2 ramps it up to almost experts. Then of course expert 2 takes expert to a whole new level, which is interesting. So now you've got 4 ways to really modulate the game. But the thing about the Hood I like is he's, instead of coming in with a defined, this is a modular set you play, it's all random. So
really?
Yeah.
Wow. So he has a deck of like 30 and you just shuffle 15, or?
No, it's you take all the modular sets out there and you pick one at random. So I created a chart and roll a die to go, all right, so this is coming in. And then when you get to a certain point, another random modular set comes in. So, I mean, he can start out with a power ring, and the next thing you know, he's bringing in the time travelers, and you get a T-Rex in there. And then the next time you do something, another modular set comes in. So it's a lot of fun to see different modular sets that you might not normally play with.
Man, it does sound like you've got a monster on your roof just crawling at your shingles or something. It's just,
oh, sorry about that.
it's just funny. It's like, you know, you don't expect to hear like
yeah,
like you're under attack.
I am. Yeah, I mean, it was a light snow starting out today, but now I guess it's more ice coming down.
Right.
So we got about 6 inches of snow throughout the day, and now I guess we're getting an ice patch coming on top of that. And when the wind blows, it's hitting. I got 2 double windows right in front of me. I mean, I got some sound panels in front of that, but it's not enough for the way the wind's blowing.
Right. So you and your gaming group. So what do you guys as a gaming group, what's your favorite like multiplayer, or what's your kind of your go-to game as a gaming group? What's your
if we got time, it's Battlestar Galactica and now Unfathomable.
Okay.
We like backstabbing and being a traitor amongst each other. So that's the type of games we excel at, is lying to your face.
So that's very interesting. So when Battlestar Galactica came out, I was still up in Ohio and I was at Cabs, and we had 3 or 4 games. I think we said that last time. 3 or 4 games of Battlestar Galactica going on every week. And this lasted for about, I don't know, 3, 4, 6 months. It was a while. But it got to the point where everybody kind of figured out how to decipher who the bad guys were. So everybody just kind of stopped playing it, and it kind of just fell out of favor. How do you guys, I mean, you play it a bunch. You know your friends. You know when he plays a card. You know which character he is. You know which cards he has access to. How do you not figure out?
There's metagame going in there. I mean, so if someone truly is a traitor, as we're going around putting cards into the mix, they're lurking around and go, I can't put a bunch of red in this.
Right.
So a lot of times,
which kind of that's exactly what. Right. So if I'm red and blue, right. And I look and I'm like, oh, there's only one other person that's red, and they're not going to put cards in. This, you know, they've already gone and passed. I'm not putting any cards in. If I put a red one in, everyone in the table is going to know I'm a traitor. So then it kind of took the fun out of, you know what I'm saying? It kind of took a little of the suspense, because everyone then, you know, the first 20 times we played it, you know, it was great because nobody knew that, right? Nobody knew that. But then somebody was figured smart enough and said, oh, you know what? You're red. And he didn't put in cards, and you're red and he's red. You're the only 2 red ones. You're a traitor. Let's throw him in the brig. And then everybody's like, oh, and so everyone figured it out, and then it kind of ruined the game for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's still there, just depending on, you don't want 3 reds in there, and then it's like, well, it's definitely you. But if one pops up, it's kind of like, it wasn't me, it was destiny. So,
so that, I mean, that kind of took the fun out of the game for us. It wasn't as fun once people knew how to play the game. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it has
to be. Beginning, there was so many great times with, you know, at the end of the game, somebody flips her thing up. I was a traitor. You're like, no, I never would have guessed that. How were you the traitor? And great moments that you had talked about in your video like that. And I'm sure your gaming group would.
Oh, yeah, we have that plenty of times where it's like, we know for sure a certain guy's a traitor, and then at the end of the game, it's like, you were human?
Right.
And then the Cylon's over in the corner going, yeah, it was me.
Right.
Yeah, and all the blame got somewhere else.
Those were the greatest moments. But then, you know, I just said, you know, there should be some kind of other mechanic they could have used or added to the game that made it so that they took that metagaming out. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, the new version has some neat things in it. And I mean, now you're on a boat going to, you need to make it to New York, the harbor or whatever, before the boat sinks. And of course, now instead of Cylons, they're hybrids, trying to bring out the evil creatures. So you're on the boat, and so as your boat advances, the big monsters that are out in the water go back, so they don't just automatically all go away. But when you reveal yourself, instead of going to another ship and doing some things, you're still on the same boat, so you can start attacking the other players on the board. And if you get thrown in jail, instead of having to do a check to get out, you can spend a certain amount of points from your hand to immediately get out of jail. So I think that's a really neat mechanic of you're still on the ship and competing with things around you.
Right.
But
which
which
would you prefer, the Battlestar Galactica or Unfathomable?
I prefer the theme of Battlestar Galactica better, but I like the game, what they've done with Unfathomable better.
Right.
And because Fantasy Flight's been doing Arkham Horror so long, at first I didn't care for the theme at all, but now I'm used to it and I like it.
What do you have or play the cards?
Uh-oh. We're losing.
I'm trying to shuffle my deck of talisman cards because there's a million of these cards. But so last night at midnight, I decided to organize some of my game shelf, and I had like 6 boxes of talisman, and I'm like, I need to combine these all. So I decided to open up the cards and separate them all into packs so I could, organize them. Well, of course, Fantasy Flight, there's a million cards. And so when you're taking cards out, I'm taking cards out of this pack, you get all of here's all the cards that go in this pack. So now you got to try to shuffle these into your 12 other 1,000 cards that you have. So I'm trying to do that as we talk so I can multitask. So I keep dropping cards. And I was going to ask you something very important, and I can't remember what I was going to ask you.
You'll remember tonight at midnight.
What were we talking about before that? Before I dropped my card?
Battlestar Galactica and Unfathomable.
Galactica.
And you're getting ready to say, have I played something else? Shadowhunters is the other game we go to. It's a lot shorter.
Okay.
And they just released a new version of that.
Yes, I was going to say that I think I remember seeing
things or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, you were talking about. I'm getting old. I forget things now. You know what I'm saying?
Me too.
Right? I mean, it was like right there on the tip of my tongue, and then I got talking about something else, and now I completely forgot. Is there any games that you and your group play and kind of said, we don't like this? You got it, played it maybe once or twice, and then afterwards you just said, nah, it's not for us. Not that it's a bad game or anything.
Yeah. Talisman, the Batman version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We didn't even finish the first game of that. We got halfway through and we all just looked around, and I think I kept the dice and gave it the game away.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, we have so many games. One guy that went to Gen Con brought back, it was Arch Ravels or something. I guess it's a crocheting and knitting game. So when he put that down at the table, we laughed and he told us why he got it. And of course we played it. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was like a set collection type game, but the theme was funny. Then of course one of the games I got that I played last year was Dream Crush. So my Christmas gift from one of the fellas was that game, which is a teenage girl game where you got a bunch of pictures down and you're talking about your dream crush. So that was an interesting night at the store with a bunch of 50-year-olds in there playing Dream Crush and laughing.
Right. It's like sitting around playing a game as a 45-year-old man playing Love Letter, and people walk by and they're like, "Oh, what are you guys playing? That looks cool." "Oh, we're playing Love Letter," and they
Love
all
Letter.
like look at you like, "What? You're a 45-year-old guy. What are you playing that for?" I remember what I was going to ask you now because you just mentioned Unfathomable, Fantasy Flight, the Arkham Horror stuff. Have you got the new edition of Arkham Horror, the 3rd edition? No.
Oh yeah, 3rd edition of Arkham Horror. I did the card game. I haven't picked up the new stuff of that.
Okay.
I like
What do
3rd
you think
edition of
of?
Arkham Horror.
I'm sorry.
I like the 3rd edition of Arkham Horror. I like the modular boards and the way that's set up instead of a like you're doing with Talisman. I'm guessing you need a 4x12 table to set up all those boards, and that's the way Arkham Horror 1st and 2nd edition got to be.
Yeah.
So I like the 3rd edition is now. Oh, I'm playing this version. These are the 5 modular boards I'm going to put together instead of.
Right. It does seems like it's more compact and more easily put on the table.
Yeah,
I've only played it once, and I was not too thrilled with it. Of course, it's not the same as you have the 1st edition of Arkham, 2nd edition, and then the revised edition. They're all basically the same with just minor differences. But the 3rd edition was going to be kind of the same thing, but it's completely different. Wouldn't you agree?
The
theme's still there, but I mean,
it had enough similarities to me, but yeah, there were some things that were definitely different in it.
Okay. What do you do? Do you play the living card games at all? I haven't seen any of those on your channel. You're not into like Lord of the Rings or the
Arkham
Horror living card games, are you?
We don't play them. Another guy in the group has the Arkham Horror living card game. I'll play them. I just can't keep up with more than one. I already have a hard enough time with the rules with one. So if I started playing 2, you know how it is. Games are so similar, but the keywords mean different things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
we talked about that yesterday in tactical wargaming. There's 80 different tactical war games, and they all do line of sight different. They all do movement different. It's like, you're playing one, you're going to play another one, and you get them confused because the rules are different.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing going from different board games is like, well, this game goes from center of the tile to the next center of the tile, and then you play another one, and it's like, well, that's from the corner to a corner.
Right.
They treat what happens if you hit the edge. Right. Yeah, Die in the Dungeon one was a fun one.
Did you like that one, Die in the Dungeon?
Yeah, it was totally different. And it came with acrylic standees, which I thought, I don't have to paint miniatures, and I have colorful pieces to put on the board.
Right. That's kind of, I got into Shadows of Brimstone.
Oh, good grief.
It used to be a great game, but I tried to paint my own minis, and that turned into a catastrophe. I think you came by when I was doing
everything for that game.
You were saying, "Oh, good Lord, they look like blood."
How much stuff I have?
Demon, what the hell, Jester? I'm like, oh man, this is not good. Damn,
that's the game I started painting on, though. That's the game I learned how to paint and glue miniatures together. And Rob Orrin over from Rob's Tabletop World. I watch a lot of his videos on beginners painting. This is what you need to do. So that's the game. The problem with the game is now I have so much of the stuff, and another guy in the group, well, 2 other guys have all the stuff in the game too. It's just too much for us to put it together. We need a separate room just for that game.
Right.
Now when the new stuff goes, I'm just playing that core box.
Right. Do you I noticed you're currently playing Hero what the hell's the name of it?
Hero Realms?
What's it?
Hero Realms,
right.
Yep. Yeah, so that's the fun thing about YouTubing. I recorded those in mid 2020, and they're just now.
I was going to say, we talked about these a while ago, and you're finally posting them. Because I think I'd actually emailed you a long time ago, hey, I'm thinking about picking this game up. What do you think about it? Blah blah blah. And you actually posted back. I've got some videos. I might try to get them on the channel sometime. So when
Yep.
they finally started popping up. So that was like a year and a half ago.
Yep. I mean,
What's your thoughts of that game? Because again, I'm still looking at it because I haven't.
well, there's Hero Realms and then there's Space Realms. They're both, to me, basically the same game. Space Realms, is that right? Hero Realm, yes. That was one of the first Kickstarters I got, and I like the space theme better. So for me, I like that game. And if you get, I think it's the Frontiers expansion, that's the best one for solo play. It comes in with monsters and tells you how to do the AI in it.
Okay.
Between that and the Hero Realms,
I just happened to be on a site earlier, and they had Star Realms, a boxed edition with multiple things, I think, inside the box.
I think they did just re-release a new core set or something.
Yeah. Let me see.
But yeah, Dennis, back on Die in the Dungeon, I thought that was a fun game. And it worked well solo. I feel like it was solo and 2-player only, maybe, but geared more towards solo play. I enjoyed it. It's not in my collection anymore just because I call games so much, and I really need to call half the games I have now. So even though games sitting here probably won't be here in the next 6 months. But Star Realms I keep, and Hero Realms. I have both of those.
Yeah, so they have the Star Realms box set, new arrival. Forge your own Star Realm, build your military through shipping and trade, and then use your mighty fleet of warships to protect what's yours and take what's not. Blah, 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 blah. The Star Realms box set includes all the cards from the Star Realms core set and Gambit sets.
Okay.
Plus a game box and 2 additional starter decks, providing awesome gameplay for 2 to 4 players. And the Pirates of the Dark Star and the Nemesis Beast Challenge cards.
Okay.
Additional solo and cooperative play options. Each box is a complete 4-player game containing rules. But when I read that, I'm like, what does that even mean? Because is it what? What does that mean?
To me, it means it's 1 to 4 players.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So it's giving you the stuff from the core stuff that came out, and then 1 small pack expansion. And of course, the game was made for 2 to 4 players. But if you bought another box or 2, you can make it 2 to 6. I've never played it past 4 people. And then the 2 Nemesis, it's 2 Nemesis, new Nemesi, whatever it is. That's so you can play solo and co-op.
Okay. So if I was to get this,
yeah, I think that's a good place to start.
You recommend that I also get.
Yeah, Frontiers is a good place to start too, especially if you know you're just going to be playing it solo.
Right. The Frontiers is what I'm looking for.
Yep.
All right. Well,
and that's a
like
game.
You, just like ago. You, I'm going to look up. I won't have it, right? Oh, they do have Star Realms Frontiers. $14.49. They have 9 in stock. Now, don't you guys all order them before the end of the show because I'll be mad. All right, so I'm going to get the Frontiers. I'll get the base
It'd be
box.
Funny though if everyone orders it just out from you before.
Wow, that would be so. I would be so mad. I'd be so mad.
Heck, I might buy 8 of them right now. Hold on a second. I need some Christmas.
I've had that happen. I've had it happen where you get a game in and it shows there's only 1 left, and I'm like, damn, I should probably get that. And by the time you go to check out, it's like, I'm sorry, an item in your cart is no longer available. Are you kidding me? And of course, it was like, an expansion that you needed for the, whatever the set was that I was buying. So you like that better than the Hero Realms?
Yeah, I mean, for a solo deck building games, Star Realms is probably my number 1.
Okay.
And just so to clarify,
because of the theme or the mechanics the same, right?
Yeah, it's all the same. And the cards do similar things. I just prefer the space theme over the fantasy theme.
So if you're a fantasy theme guy, you should go for the Hero Realms.
Yep.
If you're a outer space sci-fi guy, then go for the Star Realms.
Yep. Now, one thing Hero Realms did do was they came out with packs to where you could play as a fighter, a cleric, or sorcerer. So you didn't start with the same starter deck. It was a big thing for that. So you had a little bit of asymmetry in those things. So if I was playing a fighter, I'd have a different starting deck of cards than if I was playing the magic user. So other people liked that better. But for me,
the Hero Realms has like a story you're going through. Does the Star Realms have like a story you go through?
I don't know if they have a campaign.
Okay, so the Star Realms is basically just like a one-off.
Yeah.
Beat the boss enemy dude, and the Hero Realms kind of has like a campaign that you progress through.
Yeah, so those two boxes are a campaign system to go through, or you can play one shots of just the core set stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean it is kind of expensive though. What do you think? Is it still not that? I mean, was it worth it? Was it kind of expensive? I mean,
they're still my collection, and I'm still playing them years later. So for me,
I mean that's good, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much it costs if you still got it and you're still playing it. That's the most important thing.
I mean, Star Realms is one of those games that's like, I've only got 30 minutes and I want to play deck building. And then it was like, Frontiers. Bring that out and I'm done.
Okay.
So.
I don't see any Dominion, and I think we talked about this last time we got together. You like the deck building mechanic. You're not you're enamored with the more complexity type games that add things to the deck building as opposed to just the core mechanic of deck building.
I mean, Dominion's where I started out at, and I had that with the next two big box expansions. For me, I mean, I think that's more of a gamer's game is the best way I can say it, just because I guess in a lockdown deck building games like Star Realms, it's so random on what 5 cards come out that you can purchase. So you really can't make any huge plans. But in Dominion, it's kind of like, here's my 10 stacks of different cards. Before the game even starts, I can already do some math in my head and go, all right, I need to get 4 of those, 3 of those. Then I need to start going heavy on buying the other things. So I think that's more of a strategic game, I guess, where I like the randomness.
Right. I totally agree with you. I think Dominion is the ultimate strategy game. It's look at 10 piles of things that you've never seen combined before and figure out in your head how you're going to get to the finish line the soonest. With these things. Everybody has access to these things. You all start at the race at the same time. You need to end up first. So yeah, it is definitely, and I guess that's why I like it more than like, I still love deck building, or I still love deck building games. I think Dominion for me takes all that extra stuff out of it and just makes it the core mechanic, which I enjoy. I still like other deck building games though too. So
but to be honest with you, if they changed the theme of that and made it Marvel Dominion and put different art on there, I'd own everything for it. So I mean, I hate to say it, I'm simple like that. As the snow which comes in the window. You
probably didn't watch my video that I posted a couple weeks ago. So you all know Dominion came out in 2008, and it's got 13 expansions. And every time they come out with an expansion, they came out with the last one, I think in 2019 or 2020. In 2018, the guy said that's it. He wasn't going to do any more. They convinced him to do one more in 2019. I think he did one more in 2020. He said that was it. They're now releasing a new one in 2022 coming up March 21st, another expansion for it. So longevity in games, you know how we just talked about it. Games that come and go all the time. A game that's stuck around for 15 years now. and still coming out with expansions. For me, that's pretty impressive. So, who let the printer on those?
Yeah. That's the snowstorm outside my window. Nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, it's his location. That's what he left on. He let the air conditioning on.
Yeah, it's cold outside and stuff is coming down hard. But yeah, Dominion, and I'm still shocked. Marvel Legendary is still going strong.
What do you think of Legendary? I got just about all of it. And I
I
know
got the first half and stopped, but yeah, I mean, I love the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I love games that give you tons of different characters, that give you different replayability. I mean, if you look at all the games that I have in my collection, it's all about how many different Sentinels of the Multiverse. You know, I got 40 or 50 different characters with 30 different villains and 25, 30 different environments. The combinations that you can do between those is somewhere in the quadrillion, million,
Oh yeah.
So it's I love games where you can just randomly choose shit out of a box and put it on the table, and it's going to be different every time.
Yeah.
Marvel Legendary is the same way. Oh, we need a villain. You just reach in and grab somebody. You reach in and grab a scheme. You reach in and randomly grab heroes, and it's going to be different every time.
Yep. That was my number one game for the longest time. It's funny. I think Marvel Champions had been out maybe 6 months or something, and everyone knew me for that channel. Someone sent me a chat going, if you could only have one game, what would it be? And they expected me to say Marvel Champions. And I went Marvel Legendary. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, just the amount of different things they can do. But of course, now that Champions has been out for 2 years, and there's so much more stuff.
Starting to
yeah.
It's climbed up the ladder, hasn't it?
Yeah. So when it comes down to solo games, well, that's another thing too. I'm not a huge fan of Marvel Legendary solo. I love it 2-player and higher, but playing it solo, I just didn't enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, the co-op is a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it solo, but I can see how people would get burned out or not enjoy it as much because
right now, if I played it solo, I'd play it two-handed.
Right, yeah, that's what I do. I play two-handed. Have you played Clank? I think I asked you that last time.
I got the first version of that. I have not played Clank in Space, and I didn't play the the Legendary or game. I didn't play that one. I wanted to. I tried talking to someone else in our
Legacy
group on it, and they didn't do it.
Right. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. Oh, I know the one game that I was really surprised with. I don't know if I talked about this last time, but hey, Tony's in the house. How you doing, Tony? Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for coming by. Just talking here with Dale, the casual gamer. Have you played another game that I was like, I mean, when you describe a game to people automatically envision whether that sounds stupid, right? When somebody tells you they're going to create a board game, basically where you create a Dungeons and Dragons character, you probably are looking at your head going, well, that sounds pretty dumb. But I'll tell you what, Role Player, the game, is solid. I really like Role Player. Have you played it?
Yep. That's one of the games I've owned and sold, and I'm probably going to end up buying it back again.
Oh, it's
Now,
I really think
Role Player Adventures?
I have not gotten it yet because it is, well, first of all, it's very expensive, but I hear there's some issue with balancing and stuff like that. So I might wait on like the re-released or the updated version or whatever once they fix all the mechanics. I hear it's a beautiful game, well written, the story's great, the mechanics are solid. You can import your role-playing characters right into the game, and all that sounds great. I'm just going to wait for a more up-to-date fixed version.
But yeah, I mean, the core Role Player, that game was awesome. And I was the same way too. I mean, I got it just thinking this is a gimmick, but it's a gimmick I got to try.
Right.
Through it is like, whoa, this is in depth, and you got to make some hard decisions.
Let me ask you a question, because a lot of people ask me, they see a lot of those Sentinels on my channel, Sentinels in the Multiverse. They see some Marvel Champions, and they always ask me the difference between them. And of course, I tell them the difference, blah, blah, blah. How would you compare Sentinels of the Multiverse with Marvel Champions if Marvel Champions had a set deck for each character, so there was no deck building in it? Which would you think is or would that take? I guess what I'm asking, right? I'm just thinking out loud in my head, right? One of the cool things about Marvel Champions is the whole deck building and changing characters and giving them different roles and different cards and blah blah blah. In Marvel's Sentinels in the Multiverse, you don't do that at all. It's set. And I always thought, what if they did that? What if they added a mechanic to the Sentinels where you could deck build? Would that matter to you at all? Do you think it would be any better or worse? Or do you think if Marvel's didn't have the deck building, would it be better or worse?
I'd have to play Sentinels again, so I need my copy to arrive. It's been years since I played the game, so I need to refresh my memory. Okay. But I remember when Champions first came out, people said, hey, this is a Marvel theme on Sentinels of the Multiverse. I mean, I feel like they are fairly similar. I mean, you had weather come in your game. Do they call them environments?
Environments, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so they've got the exact same thing going in Marvel Champions. So I think they're fairly similar games. But it is a good point. I'm not a huge fan of deck construction games. I love deck building where the game is you start with these 10 cards and you're making that better. I love that. But deck construction, like Marvel Champions or the other living card games, I'm not a fan of that. So if you notice in Marvel Champions, a lot of my game or decks I build are very similar. Just, I mean, I'll change them up enough if there's some synergy with the character. So like if I'm playing Captain Marvel, I know I need to have a whole lot of energy cards in the deck. But if I'm not, or if I want Hulk to work, I put a lot of strength cards in there. But yeah, I think if someone does not like deck construction, Sentinels of the Multiverse might be the better game for them. But then I know
I'm the same way. I can't stand deck building. I've never been Magic the Gathering. Never. I don't think I probably bought a couple packs just to try, but I never liked it. I've never, I mean, people that do it there's people that make a living on it, but that whole thing, no, I couldn't stand doing it. So when Marvel Champions came out, and that's kind of like, like half of the living card games is all deck building and stuff. And I love them so much, but I can't do them. I want to play more of them, but I can't do them because of that. Like when I go to play Marvel Champions, I just go to like MB database or whatever the website is where the people just put their decks in, and I just find the most popular one. Oh, Hawkeye here. And I just build it that way because I just can't do it.
Yeah, that's a great resource. Yeah, for a lot of people that, like you said, want to build it that way. For me, it helped that I got in early on the game, so I got to see all the cards go up. The one thing on that really helped me is the fact that, like in Lord of the Rings, it's kind of like you're building your 50 or 60 card deck from nothing. But at least with Marvel Champions, it's, I'm playing Captain America. Here's 15 cards of the 40 cards you need to make to start with.
I think that was very
down by the different aspects. It's kind of like, I'm playing aggression. So the red cards are all that matter. I don't worry about the other 75% of the card pool. So, I mean, that helped to make it easier.
Yeah, I think that is probably it's saving why it's so popular. Because there's probably a lot of people like us that are like, I don't really care about the deck building, but I can get by it because I only have to add like 15 cards and then I'm done. It's not like I got to build it from scratch. And there's usually like 4 or 5 cards you always put in, the double energy, the double, so there's like, you're really limited to how many real cards you're adding to the deck anyway. So
Yeah, so like you said, you got those 3 resources. For me, it's the Helicarrier, Endurance, and Downtime. So there's
right.
6 cards. So there's 21 of the 40 card deck already done.
Right. So you got like 19 cards, and of those 19 cards, you're probably going to be putting either 2 or 3 copies of them in. So
Yeah.
you really only have like 6 or 7 cards you need to add, right? So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
that's,
so
I mean,
I remember I went up to, I went up to see Quackalope. I don't know if you've seen him on YouTube. But he lived up in Maryland, so I went up and drove him one day because I sent him a random note one day. He had all his Marvel Champion stuff behind him on a shelf still in the shrink wrap. So I sent him a text one day and said, hey, if you ever want to get those things out of the shrink wrap, I'll come up and help you. And that was his thing too, was he didn't know how to do the deck construction. So he took everything out and was like, this is how I built it. It's like, you've got these 15 cards, these 6 cards you almost always put in, and then you just look at this, what aspect do you want to do? Right. So it really helped with the deck construction. So
would you think Marvel Champions, if let's say they went the way of Sentinels or Multiverse and they said, here's Hawkeye's 40 cards, this is what he gets and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would be as popular, less popular, or more popular? Or do you think it would matter at all?
I think people would still buy it. I think it's more popular because you can manipulate the decks.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we're the weirdos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people, like in the universe out there, don't mind the deck building stuff. I think we're the weirdos that kind of just don't enjoy it. So yeah, I agree. I think, and like I said, I think there's some people like us. I think there's more people that don't. So Fantasy Flight, being very smart, said, you know what we'll do? We'll make it so that it's core, but then add a little bit. So we'll make those other people happy. So,
mm-hmm. And like I said, that website helps other people's out. Because I know when Lord of the Rings started out, I mean, I loved it, but to me, that game was super hard. You had to do some really good deck construction to make it through each scenario. And the deck you made to do scenario 1, you would get crushed in scenario 2 with that deck. So you really had to, which is, I'm fine with losing games. I don't mind that. But yeah, I don't want to put in 8 hours of constructing a deck to lose 20 times and then spend another 8 hours to manipulate a couple more cards. That's not fun to me. I want to sit down and enjoy a game.
But
I mean, I get people that do. That's kind of like the sports games. I'm not that big into stats, which is why when I play that football and baseball game you forced me to buy, I play the easy version.
You need to try it out. You need to put it on your channel. You need to see how it goes. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised once you play it. You'll probably have a lot more fun. Like I said, it's all about how much fun is the game for you, right? People look at me and they go, "Oh, you're a war gamer, you're a board gamer, you're a sports gamer. What the hell are you, Jester?" And I'm like, I'm just the guy that likes playing a lot of different games that are fun, right? And
you're a race car driver too. You crash a lot, but
you know what? Look.
Oh yeah, show me that steering wheel, man. All right, yeah. Nice.
I think yeah. I went out and bought this fancy steering wheel, got it, everything, and I just was having a blast doing it. But then I'm like, there's only so much time, right? So you have to make a decision what you're going to do. And I decided I just don't have time to do this and this and this. It's hard enough doing sports and board gaming and war gaming, and all the other stuff, right? You throw in more stuff, so I just have to cut back. So the racing for me is probably it's going to go back in the box and just sit on the shelf for another 20 years. And I'm cutting back on my sports gaming just because I have a lot of fun with it, but it's just it's not. Sports gaming is not like a one and done. Like we just talked about Star Realms. I could play a game in Star Realms, get it out, play it, and put it away because it's done.
Mm-hmm.
The sports games, you can do that, but it's like you got 162 game season to play. So you got to do that like 162 times.
Yep.
And I don't have the mental capacity to do that.
Yep. And I'm very much the guy I have that same issue with campaign games. I mean, it's I think, the guy from Board Game Co. mentioned it, Alex, that he does great. And I'm the same way. It's you get that campaign game, you get it on the table, you play 5 games, something else comes in the mail, you pick up the campaign game, play the other thing, and then you're like, oh, if I get that other game out, what level was I? What extra cards did I have? Oh, wait. I set that up for a 2-player game with someone else.
Right. You got all those problems to worry about. Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm very much, and it's the same thing with Marvel Champions. I'd rather play a one-shot than the campaigns. I don't know where I saw this. I'm sure a lot of people thought of it on the campaigns instead of running the same 2 heroes through or the same hero through a campaign. To swap it out and just keep your victory points and the things you got. To me, that sounds more fun. Of like if I was doing the Red Skull campaign, I might do the first fight with Hawkeye, the second fight with Scarlet Witch, the third fight with someone else, to bring in a different hero every time and still go through the campaign to level up and things, but just bring in a different hero.
Right. I think anytime you do like campaigns or multiple things in a row, right? You're talking about a pretty good commitment. If it's a couple hours, right? You're playing a scenario for a couple hours, then you're playing another scenario for a couple hours. Before you know it, these couple hours over 4 or 5 scenarios is like 20 hours worth of time. Right? And that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot of time that you're working on this, and you have to have it out, and you have to have it set up, and you have to have everything. So you're right. If I've got games of like Gloomhaven that are right here because I played the first mission, and I'm like, oh, I should get that out and play the next mission. But I'm like, no, I have to start over again because I have no idea where the hell I was after the first mission.
Yep. And I think that speaks back to my top 10 list of last year. Let me see. Valeria Card Kingdoms, they had a campaign game, which eventually I'll get those plays up. I mean, I think that was 6 campaigns plus 1 extra. And I just went through, I mean, it is a shorter game. They're only like 30 minutes, but I just whipped through those. But Wild Ascent, that was a long, stretched out campaign thing to where you had your battle fights, then you went back to town to level up and do things. Right. Went through all 10 games of that. So to me, that spoke a lot because, I mean, I probably had to put the game down, tear it up.
I mean, that's why your Hero Realms, even you're on like campaign 6 now, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even know there was 6 campaigns. And I'm like, I wouldn't even have made it this far. So I'm like interested, like, what is your character like now? Because I wouldn't even I'm really bad about that stuff though. Like I've got this huge campaign, this mega campaign going on now, and I'll probably record another episode, right? And it'll be great and it'll be fun, but then I'll be like, I need desk space. So like literally, where am I going to get desk space from with this all over the table? I mean, I got cards, I got boards, I got everything. I got no desk space. So eventually I'm going to say it's all got to go. And if it's not done by then, it's not done. It'll just get thrown aside like the rest of it.
You got room for a game table right behind you, man. Yeah, I know. They're expensive.
I know. I really wish I could. I really wish I could. If I could, I do. I actually have a table out in the garage, and I've been swearing up and down. But then I'm like, how do I'd have to rearrange like literally everything in my room because my computer's in the corner over here. How am I going to get my cable over here to record it? I'd have to move the computer over here where the board games are, which means the board games have got to. It's like it would be a major thing.
That's what I did over the holidays. I know from the camera side where I'm sitting, it doesn't look like I changed much, but I rearranged this whole room just because I used to have my computer where I'm sitting now. So when I was live streaming with you, I had to change all my cables, and it took me half a day to get everything back so I could do that. Then I'd have to move everything back over behind me. So now you can see my computer's over there, but I've worked up so I can have my laptop here, and it still works. But this is my new game table. But yeah, so Amazon's been to my house a lot the past couple of weeks because I had to get longer extension cords and everything.
Extension cords, cables.
Yep.
All the, the different adapters you need, and oh my god, it's yeah.
Yeah, and I spent 3 days trying to get the lights
on my table, right? I will highlight some of it. So back here is the lights that are used to be up on my table here, but I can't have those lights up on my table because I have no room to put anything on my table. So the lights are back there, and where's the rest of it? Oh, I can't see it. And now, of course, I've knocked half of the things over on the table here now. The werewolf got knocked over. So now I got to try and remember where the hell he was at. Okay, I think we're all right. So that's the other thing, right? That's the other thing, is when you got something set up, it goes for wargaming, board gaming, or whatever, right? And you want to take breaks, go to dinner, whatever. You can't just play like 6 hours, straight normally. So you got to keep everything set.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can see over here on this right here is the game called Labyrinth, which is War on Terror. I'm sorry? Is
that the one based on the movie or something else?
No, it must be something. No, okay. It's War on Terror. So you're basically either the U.S. or the terrorists, and you're trying to complete your mission or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I moved this off my table because I was playing with it, and I was like, cool, I'll just set it over my couch, right? And I'll keep all the pieces there. I'll keep everything organized. Well, guess what happened? You see this end right? Wait, where's my finger? So right here, you notice right here at the end of my table, there used to be this game right here on the end up there. And it decided to fall off, hit this, and bounce over onto my game over there. So the game is now completely destroyed. Completely. I mean, pieces went everywhere. So now I'm like, well, guess that game's going back in the box. And that's because I was getting out my talisman stuff that I was trying to organize. And I hit the shelf, and the box on the end fell off and hit the thing and bounced over. And so, yeah, anytime you can, oh, Jesus. You just, space, if you got a good space like you do, you should appreciate it. You got a pretty good space. How much is your barrier? I mean, how big is your table?
4 by
4 by 8, 4 by 6?
4 by 4.
Huh?
4 by 4.
4 by 4. Okay.
I have two 2 by 4 plastic tables together, and then I put a game mat over top. So a lot of my videos, when I have boards put together, I've got to mention it because it looks like the boards are warped. I just tell people my 2 tables aren't even. So it looks like the boards are warped. So this is, my studio is half of a bedroom. My wife is very nice.
She should be to you.
But we have our hobbies, and we have cats, and you can't have cats in your game room.
Yeah. I mean, pieces that come up missing.
Yep.
How do you find time? You played 530 or 580 games or whatever the hell it was. You had 36 new games that came in. Where the hell do you find time to paint the minis too? Good Lord, I'm looking back at your videos, and like half the games you play are painted. I'm like, God damn, he's playing 500 games a year and he's still painting his minis. What's wrong with this guy?
I blame Rob on that one. He's got a session. He says he won't play a game until it's painted. And I was like, oh man, I got to be as good as this guy, right? Until I painted a game that I hated. Yeah, so I painted all the miniatures, put it on the table, and I was like, this game is not staying.
Right.
And then it was like, and I've already wasted a week painting it. So
Right.
yeah. So my
Right.
secret to painting is contrast paints.
All right. Right. So actually, I just got into contrast paints, right? And painted, got frustrated. I threw all my stuff in a box. Just everything, right? And just put it all away. I got out my talisman stuff today, and I'm like, huh, this actually doesn't look too bad with the contrast paints. I'm like, maybe I should have kept going because I was so mad and frustrated. I mean, it's not the best thing ever, but it actually looks pretty decent. I'm like, and that only took me like a couple minutes to do.
Yeah.
I could probably kept going, but I was so mad. I was just so frustrated. And you watch, I mean, you know, your stuff isn't professional. It still looks great, right? I look at your stuff and I'm like, well, if Dale can do it, I can do it. No, it's not true.
Yeah, I know.
It's not true.
One of my other games, someone was like, "Hey, could you get a close up of those miniatures?" I'm like, They looked okay from this far away, but not from this far away.
Well, I went out and bought the what's the air sprayer with the
good grief, yeah.
Used it one time to prime my minis because I'm thinking, oh yeah. Started painting these minis, and that's when I got frustrated and put it all in the box. So I got an air compressor and a air gun or airbrush. Yeah, I got an airbrush and the compressor and everything. I mean, pretty decent one, like $350. Used it like one time, and now it's sitting in the garage up on the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, I do not enjoy painting it at all, but also whenever I set a game out there and I see all these gray miniatures, I want that to change. Right. So I mean, we're talking about Marvel Zombicide. I want the game so bad, but I know it's going to come with 400 minis.
Right, right. And that's going to be a lot of time painting and putting together. I mean, I told you I got into Shadows of Brimstone, right? And I started painting the minis and everything, but they all turned out crap. So I will never play that game now. It's going to sit on my shelf. Just
find another core box. You'll be fine.
I can't. I'm like, no, I can't. Oh my god! And then it's like, well, just put contrast. You know, I've had other people just say, oh, just slap some contrast paints on them. They'll look fine. I'm like, I'll do it, and then it'll still look like crap. I'll still get mad. So I got like 2 boxes of the big core boxes that I got painted, and I'm probably never going to play it because I don't like how the minis turn out.
Well, in retrospect, that game does not have the best miniatures to start with. I mean, there's not a lot of detail on them.
No.
And even in their early sets, they didn't always glue together right.
Right.
But the game itself, I loved it. It just got to the point it was too much to bring to the table. People are like, do you want to play Shadows? It's like, yes, I want to play it. No, I don't want to get all the stuff out, though.
Actually, the one thing I do have for Shadows of Brimstone is my figure that I can't fit back in the box because you glued all the wings and everything on him now.
Yep.
So he looks better. He's not all blood soaked like you were saying before. He's all right. He still looks okay. But I mean, this is like literally 20 coats of paint on this guy. Because I couldn't get him to look right, so I kept changing things. I'd go and watch more videos from some dude saying, oh, do it this way. And I'd try it, and it would look like crap. And then I'd watch some other guy's videos. Oh, my God.
Yep. When you're learning to paint, you start with the small zombies and work your way up.
Yeah. I don't have the patience, I guess, for it. I mean, even me and Tabletop Sports Delaware got together one night and did a live painting seminar because I thought, first of all, I hate painting. Mm-hmm. Second of all, I figured, well, if I got with him, you're talking, the time will go by, which it did. It made it a lot more fun and everything, but then they still look like crap, and I was so mad because I'm like, people are watching me paint this live. People would show up and watch me paint, and then it turned out like crap, and I'm like, why? How does this look like crap? I don't understand, but
yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap up. We've can you believe it's been an hour and 40 minutes already? It doesn't seem that long, does it?
The snow and ice has stopped. That's good.
I was going to say your house is now quiet. So
Yeah.
if anyone has any last minute questions for either myself or Dale, the Casual Gamer, again, guys, go check out his channel. Does a great job. We're going to be brewing this. We got an official show title now, The Boardroom. So it's now official. We're gonna have to start doing this about every month, or at least every month. So just plan on it, Dale.
I'll do my best, but like you said, you never know. There's a snowstorm coming. I need to learn how to use StreamYard too. I need to play with it a little bit and get you over on my channel too.
It's if you're 12 years old, you can figure it out. You just go to the website.
I'm not 12. I'm a little older.
You just sign up, and then when you click it, it says link to a channel, and you say yes, and you put your special code in, and then you're good. And then you just type in the title, and you hit OK, and then it takes you like to a little intro page, and then you just log into the site, and then so you'll see like yourself in the screen, and then down at the bottom you see when other people join, and you send the other people you want on the channel a link. It's pretty simple. But I'm a professional, so you know.
Yeah, you're professional. I'm not.
Well, it's always fun talking with you. I have a blast. I mean, we could do this for 2-3 hours. I know I have a good time, and I know everybody enjoys it and listens to what we have to say and enjoys it. It's a fun time, and that's what we try to do. Just have a fun time, talk, and just hang out and talk about stuff. What else you got? What else you want to talk about? Is there anything you want to talk about before we go?
No, we hit the games for 2021, and we hit what I'm expecting or hopeful for in 2022. I don't think you mentioned what you were excited for coming this year, other than your other Kickstarters actually arriving at the house.
Yeah, my Kickstarters from 2019, if they would arrive this year, that'd be great. I spent pretty much last year, to be honest, like catching up on games that I loved before I moved down here and reacquiring them. So I finally finished. Right here is the Eldritch Horror series of games. I finally picked up the last little bit of those. I picked up the rest of the Sentinels of the Multiverse, which are right here on this shelf here. I got all the Dominion, all 13 expansions for Dominion. So I spent a lot of time on that. So I haven't really been looking forward. I've been spending a lot of money catching things up, not buying new things, So I know the Plum Island Horror. Have you heard of that one?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a guy named Herman Lutman?
Sounds familiar.
He's a game designer. He's a good friend of the channel. In fact, when he lives like 15 minutes from my mom's house, so when I was visiting my mom over the summer, he came over and we went out to lunch with him. And he's a game designer, so we were talking all of his games. And one of the games that's coming out this year is the Plum Island Horror, which is actually coming out on the GMT games, and they're mostly known for war games.
Yep.
Technically war games, right? But GMT Games this year is going to release Mr. President. You know about Mr. President? You would like Mr. President, I'm telling you. The Plum Island Horror is another one. So you should be watching some of my videos, obviously, because we have these game designers on all the time and talking to them. And they're both coming out from the GMT website. Mr. President, you're basically in charge of running the United States starting in the year 2010, or is it 2000? 2000 maybe. And you have to deal with political issues. You have to deal with military issues. You have to deal with economics.
That sounds like real life.
I'm sorry?
So that sounds like real life.
It is real life. It's basically a game where you're playing as the president, where you got to make decisions. And actually, Tony, speaking of which, Tony mentions it. He's actually one of the beta testers for the game for Mr. President. So he and Mike Berticelli are finishing up play testing it. So it's supposed to be out here in the next later bit this year sometime. So
Cool.
Oh, and he's actually going to be live streaming it over on Tony's Board Life. So maybe you should subscribe to his channel. So yeah, these are two. Yes, how we talked about earlier. That there's wargaming, there's board gaming, but I only think there's a middle section that takes some mechanics. One of the main mechanics that the Plum Island Horror is basically a survival type game. But there's war and there's fighting different factions and stuff like that. One of the main mechanics that Herman Lutman used is copied and altered from Aeon's End, where you have the random initiative deck. So each faction gets a card that's put into the deck for initiative, so you're never sure when you're going to get to go on your turn. So, and he said he plays lots of other games besides war games, and he implemented that mechanic because I think, like I said, I think there's definitely war games that are still war games, and there's definitely still board games that are Euro games. Now I think there's more of a general kind of meshing together of different games out there that I think, if you look at Talisman, right? Talisman, it's a fantasy adventure game, but you're fighting and battling creatures. Is that considered a war game? No, it's not considered a war game. Is it a board game? Of course it's a board game, but there are some people that might say, oh, there's some war elements in there because you're fighting creatures, you're fighting enemies. You're doing war gamey things. Like a war game, you're taking one side rolls the dice and the other side rolls the dice and you're comparing them to see who wins. That's the same thing as Talisman, right?
Yep. I remember there's a little card game. I think it was called Battleground Fantasy or something like that.
Battleground Fantasy.
Yeah. So, it took the big miniatures. You need the 4x8 table, and it took it down to, no, you don't. We're going to put that big army on a card.
Right. Yep.
And you position that and move it around. So,
and they had the little top-down view of the Lizard Man or whatever faction. Yeah. I remember that game. Absolutely.
That was a cool mechanic. Yeah.
Right. I think I think being a gamer is a gamer, right? It's not, I don't just play war games. I don't just play board games. I play just games. I'm just a gamer, I guess is what I play whatever looks good and whatever's fun and interesting. Yeah. When I can find that plays solo really well. Like this game right here, Western Front Ace, which is coming out later this year. This is World War I. And you're in charge of a squadron of World War I fighters, and you have to go on different missions and stuff. It's all solo, so thank you. If it's solo compatible, it's easy to play, by yourself without having to, get somebody to make a solo variant for you or whatever. That's what I like. So.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, look, not to make you mad or anything, but look, the wife just brought in chocolate cake, right?
Yeah, that's not a good host if I'm not getting cake too.
Ooh, is it warm? Oh, I need to.
Well, is it warm too?
It's not warm. I'm going to have to go warm it up a little bit because it's a little chilly here. We're up in the low 40s.
Don't hear it, man. I got snow and ice storm going on for me.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I really do. I have such a good time talking with you, catching up on things, finding out, using your knowledge and stuff. So I'm glad we got a chance to do this again.
Appreciate it.
We can do this again every month or whenever we can get around to doing it. So, yep. Thank you so much for coming out. Oh, hey, look at this. There is Mike Berticelli right there. He must have we talked about him. I think, did you say his name 3 times? I think I said his name 3 times.
At least. Okay, and he appeared.
And
so
he
that's the
showed
dark
up.
side of
Yeah,
gaming.
Beetlejuice. He is the designer of Mr. President, which we were just talking about. I'm trying to convince Dale over here, Mr. Casual Gamer, that he might be interested in Mr. President. So I think Dale knows a lot about board games, right? He knows a lot. He's got the inside knowledge. Now I've just introduced him to a few other things, and he's already been looking on his computer for him. So we'll find
Yep.
out. He's going to get some sports gaming in this year. He's going to start feeling the dark side and maybe try other things out there.
Our dark side is getting the other one to buy games. I understand.
You understand, right? Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming out tonight. A great chance, a great time to talk with everybody. Dale, I appreciate you coming out. I really do.
Thanks for the invite.
And, enjoy your channel. Enjoy all you do. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you everyone soon. So everybody, take care. We'll see you next time.